What's your take on the sustainability part of the cannabis issue? Are there concerns that the industry's sustainability is not being ensured? And what role do you think companies can play in driving green practices or innovative approaches that you have seen in the past?
It just comes down to good business ethics. Look, what we're attempting to do, it's not really a green industry in that regard. The cost of like the energy consumption, the resource consumption of cultivating cannabis, it's fairly intense. It's really, really, really demanding on resources. If you think of what we attempt to do, the movement of the product, the consumption, the testing, and everything else in between, there's a lot of resources used when it comes to this industry. This is a lot of resources used when it's relatively small. Like, there's a great waste out there. Think of all those, like 90% of what's cultivated in Canada gets destroyed. And there's a lot more. I would say probably 95% is the reality. Like that's 95% that has gone through high energy absorbing lighting and nutrients and human resources and human capital and water and it gets fired out. Like rather than a business being best practice, regulators should, for instance, in Germany, like, well, how much do we actually need? It needs to be more restricted in that regard. Like having open markets, products flooding the market at the minute, it's not good for anybody. Allowing products that are GACP to be converted into EU GMP, it's a moment in time, but it doesn't serve like the wider industry because there's going to be oversupply. And really, like that's the area of greenwash of sustainability. The industry isn't sustainable. The industry is pretty reckless. I would say there's obviously, there's sustainability when it comes to processes in place to cultivate, but when that cultivation doesn't end up in the consumer and gets destroyed, which happens in a lot of cases, that's not sustainable.
I think leading on to that, the recklessness that we see in the industry, a lot of goods being wasted, a lot of extra efforts, overbuilding that we've seen, underconsumption, and then a lot of waste. I feel there is a strong need of regulators to look at companies and establish some kind of norms around being responsible and conscious, which may lead to some level of sustainability, at least, as the benefits will pay off the loss in production power and all sorts of things. So I think being responsible and conscious may make it a little bit better.
Yeah, completely. Like it's product sitting on shelf, regardless of the sector, is the most unsustainable thing. And if you've got these costs, let alone the environmental impact of some of these cultivation facilities is off the wall. Like companies are more than happy to go and acquire X amount of square foot and have a sustainability expert, go through their SOPs, but not actually go through their business planning and, validate that what they're ultimately doing isn't, there isn't a need for what they're doing. There's a difference. It comes down to ultimately the quality of management and financial leadership, because now that there is a restriction on capital in the industry, you're starting to see smarter managers answer harder questions. When companies were able to call up their broker or their advisor and raise X amount in a couple of weeks, everybody can be great. And, whereas now when the value of earning or raising $1 feels like earning 10 or raising 10, then and is treated like 100, then it becomes different. We're seeing this change in dynamic of leadership, and it's really refreshing.
I would certainly agree, and thanks for such an honest review of my question. And I would agree on the leadership that it's not about to make businesses successful. It's not always about the resources. It's a lot of times about resourcefulness as to what one can achieve.